you're looking to enjoy your summer and not feel like on August 30th that you're a total mess and that you've put on 15 pounds and you need a detox, and you're going to go into the same cycle of like September, you're going to get your act together, and then all of a sudden holidays are going to start to pick up in November, and then January, you're going to go on another detox, and then by February, you're going to forget about that. And then you're going to like, kind of go into your winter doldrums, and then you're going to get into shape for a couple of weeks heading into the summer because you don't want to look like a walrus. And then the summer is going to take you out. And this is like cycle that people live over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, there's a better way. My name is Brian Panuzzo. I am a former bond trader turned executive health and performance coach. I know exactly why your health keeps losing to your calendar, and I help you build a system that fixes it for good. I know your world as a financial professional from the inside because I lived it for 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift podcast, and I am your host, Brian, and I'm so excited to be back on the mic with you. I hope you had a fantastic July 4th holiday. Summer is officially in full swing. Now that we're through the July 4th holiday is when we really start to pick up summertime for most of us, especially people who are in the Northeast. July and August are really the main months of the summer. Our kids were in school up until like late June. And this is when things really start to kick off and we can enjoy ourselves. And when we can enjoy ourselves, we tend to be a little bit more off track for the moments that things get a little bit more loose. All right. And so this week I want to talk about some ideas about how I would approach the rest of the summer if I were you. And before I do that, I just want to sort of bring you back into like, why am I talking about this? Why is this important? All right. And well, it's important because I've noticed inside of my program that has almost 70 professionals that are just like you. If we chunk up enough, their lives look exactly like yours, maybe slightly different on the surface, but effectively exactly like yours. And it doesn't matter if you're a medical sales device person or medical device salesperson, or you're a bond trader. All right. You have commitments after work. You have long days. You have commutes. You have travel. You have dinners out. You have a lot of alcohol. You have time with your family in the evenings and on the weekends, and you have weekend sports, and you have time at the country club and at the beach club, and you're doing all of these things. And in the summertime, it just gets a little bit easier just to get a little bit more relaxed. Now, I would say you might want to be more relaxed. We've been talking to clients recently about this notion of like, it is time to get a little bit more relaxed with our routines. But there's a way for us, and I'm holding up my hands now for those of you not on YouTube on video, to show you there's a way to barbell approach the rest of your summer. And I'm going to tell you what that means. I'm going to explain why it's important and how I am approaching my summer and how many of my clients are approaching the summer as well. It is great to be back on the mic talking in front of the camera. I know I just released a podcast episode last week, so thank you for listening to that if you did. But if you have been listening, you know that for the last 4 weeks, we've let you inside behind the curtain of the Success Lift program. And we've been repurposing some of the Coach's Corner client-only podcast episodes that Hal, who's one of the coaches inside of the program, and myself produce on a weekly basis. So every single week, our clients get a client-only podcast that's designed for all aspects of elite human performance, all right? Think mental performance, physical, relational. We dive deep and go into the how of a lot of different topics, right? How would you tactically execute a fat loss phase? How would you come out of one? What would you do with your fitness and nutrition? And hopefully, I got a ton of great feedback on the mental fitness episodes over the last 2 weeks. If you haven't listened or watched those, I would highly encourage you to go back and check those two out. Those were fantastic. And so I'm saying all this to just remind myself that it's really cool to be able to do this on a weekly basis. I missed it. It was great for me to take a little summer break myself so that I could focus on 3 weeks of travel on the road and not skip a beat with the podcast and also have impactful content for you guys, because I didn't just want to mail it in, record 3 or 4 shitty episodes real fast just to get through them. I want to constantly provide you value. And the feedback I got over the last several weeks is that you found those episodes valuable. So thank you for that. And if you haven't listened to them yet, go check them out. Right? If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. If you're an OG, I think this is episode 319. Thank you for being around for so long. All right, let's talk about the barbell approach. Okay, the barbell approach in bond investing, for my bond nerds out there, is a very familiar concept for you guys. It involves, again, holding up my fists here, on one end of the barbell, we are maybe buying the very short end of the maturity spectrum, right? We're buying the front end, as we would say. And on the other end of the spectrum, we buy the long end, right? And it averages things out, balances things out. I'll leave the technical detail up to people who are way more smarter and still doing this for a living, because I ain't anymore. All right. Now, barbells are also very familiar inside of my program, and hopefully you're a little familiar with them too, because lifting weights is a very important part of body composition, developing confidence and changing the way you look and feel and keeping promises to yourself. And so the barbell approach inside my program should really resonate with everybody because, one, we have a lot of financial professionals. Two, most of my guys and girls are lifting weights because that is something that we should all be doing for the most part. And so again, we put weights on each side of the barbell and it balances things out. And so this balancing mechanism is what we are thematically talking about inside of our program over the last month or so. See, I started to talk to these guys a month ago about this because I have access to data that you don't have, because I talk to people like you for a living over and over and over and over again. And I see weekend accountability check-in forms over and over and over again. And I see data inside of my app that we put all of our clients on, so I can see constant flows of data all day, every day if I want to. And so I have a ton of evidence and I have a ton of data. I'm a data collector at heart. And I can take that data and I can take the conversations and the feedback and the text messages and the phone calls and the Zoom calls and all of the pieces of information, the pieces of the puzzle that I get on a daily basis. And I can start to aggregate, like, what is going on in the life of a professional just like you. And I can get a really clear picture without really making very many assumptions at all, because there's so much data that we're able to call upon. And so when I see and hear themes, I ultimately end up turning it into content for clients. And that's what we did over the last couple of weeks. And that's what we're starting to really talk to them about. And that's why I wanted to also talk to you about it. Because if people like me and people like my clients are struggling and dealing with it, then most likely people like you are too, because we're the same. We are the same. We just have to chunk up a little bit and we're exactly the same. Doesn't matter if we have different professions, live in different parts of the country, have different commutes, do different things. It doesn't matter. Ultimately, our lives look pretty similar in terms of our responsibilities and our goals and our commitments. And so we talked to clients recently about this notion of the barbell because it's very familiar. It's familiar in many of their professional lives, and it's familiar in their life inside of the Success Lift program. But it could be a very effective analogy in the particular season that we're in. Okay. I talk to clients all the time about the boring moments, the boring basics, executing when it's Tuesday at lunch, and conversely, enjoying yourself when it's the member guest, when it's July 4th, when it's a fun summer, weekend event that you don't get to do. You're at the beach club. I see something that I see way too frequently is that people try to manage the moments that are, I don't want to say unmanageable because any moment is manageable, but are very difficult to manage. Or why would you want to manage them at all? Why would I want to, unless I had a behavior problem or there was a really significant knock-on effect, why would I want to put a limit on the number of drinks that I have at my member guest, or worry about what I'm going to eat on a date night with my wife, or only focus on eating chicken and fruit on July 4th. Like, could you do all those things? Of course you could. You could. Do those make the most sense to me? Are they the highest leverage activities that we have? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. And so the barbell approach in this analogy is the long end of the barbell. One end of the barbell is all of these fun moments that are going to be coming up for the next 2 months inside of your summer plans. And what I see most people don't do enough of is execute the really boring moments. The moments that are, you can talk yourself into just being good, not great, or average, not good. And those are the moments that happen far more frequently, that can compound far more aggressively and effectively than me trying to put a drink limit on a member guest or a July 4th holiday party. And so I think the best of both worlds is a world where you eat your egg whites and grilled chicken and walk your steps and go to the gym most of the time. And then some of the time, depending on what it is you want in terms of your results. Now, that might be 5% of the time for me. For you, it might be 15% of the time. Maybe in the summer, for many of us, for someone like me, it goes from, 3 to 5% of the time to like 7 to 12% of the time, because there's just more opportunities and more moments to enjoy yourself. I don't need to tell many of you who live in seasonal environments, cold weather environments especially, man, it's a hell of a lot easier to stay on track in the winter. You don't go anywhere. You're inside, you're hibernating. You got more clothes on, so maybe there's an excuse to put an extra layer of fur on yourself. But for the most part, it was always easier for me to stay on track. It was much harder when the social calendar picked up more. And the social calendar has picked up. It is going to be maxed out for us. Probably the only other time where the social calendar is worse than this is like that 2-week stretch during December, during holiday party season. It's like the second week of December to like the right before the last week before Christmas, when it's like bananas. You got, 3 places you could be every single night. And then you got weekend stuff, and you got all the kids stuff, and you're still trying to be a husband or a father or a mother or whatever. And so this is a tough stretch for a lot of people. And it's a stretch in the sense of like, you want to also enjoy it. Here's another aspect of this barbell approach we've been reminding clients about. A lot of our clients were in what we would call a fat loss phase heading into this summertime. And we were basically getting ready for this moment right now, I guess technically a week ago, because of when this is dropping versus being recorded. We are getting them ready. Peak condition, peak shape should be right before July 4th for most people, right? And they should hold that condition, hold that shape for the next 8 weeks, which is very possible to do, even with the approach that we're suggesting clients take. But this is why you were grinding for 3 or 4 or 5 or even more months during the winter and spring. This is what you were getting ready for. This is game time. It's game time right now. And so why wouldn't you go play the game a little bit? Go have some fun. We all have young kids. We tell our young kids to go have fun when they go play. Well, this is your game for the next 2 months. You should go have fun. That doesn't mean that you need to put on 20 pounds doing it. And that's this notion of the barbell approach. And so if I were going to approach the rest of the summer, and oh, by the way, I am, because I am client number 1 in the Success Lift program. Everything that I did in my life, I turned into an operating system to help other people do. Now, has it evolved? Have I changed some stuff? Does, some things go in and out? Of course they do. but I'm client number one, and I continue to be client number one. I take a lot of pride in doing the things that I ask you to do inside of my program. If I ask you to track your food, if I ask you to walk a lot, if I ask you to get to the gym, if I ask you to prioritize your sleep, if I ask you to check in, if I ask you to schedule yourself throughout the week, if I ask yourself to hold yourself accountable to people, something, who do you think feels the most pressure to do that? You're never going to see me not do the things that I ask my clients to do. It is a core fundamental belief that I have. And I don't know why people join programs when the person leading that program isn't doing the stuff that they ask their participants to do. Will our specific actions, differ from time to time? Of course, because there's also a level of customization inside this program. What works exactly for me is not going to work for you because you're a different human being and a different individual. Will 80 or 90% be the same? Yeah, probably. Maybe not 90, maybe 70 to 80. That last 20 to 30 is what gets really customized to you. But I'm doing that 70 and 80%. And I've been doing it for a decade or more in certain circumstances. And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on Tuesday at lunch, Friday morning at breakfast. Here's another moment that doesn't necessarily get picked up by a lot of people. It could be Friday after work. And what I mean by that is you may not have anything this week. Let's say next week, because this is the night before July 4th, this past week. This week coming up, right? Forward looking. You got a round of golf on Saturday morning at the club. Then you're meeting the family to be at the pool. Then you're going to a couple's date night. And then Sunday, there's this basically day-long barbecue or something like that. And Friday night, you usually do certain things. You usually have a few drinks to celebrate a long, successful work week. You eat a certain way. Maybe it's pizza or whatever with the family. Pizza and wine is a big thing on Friday nights at my house a lot of times, or at least used to be a lot. And when I look at pizza and wine on Friday night, sometimes that becomes a boring moment for me. What I mean by this is that if I look at my calendar on Saturday and Sunday and I'm doing things that I don't normally do and I want to enjoy those, sometimes I have to claw back some of the time and I have to decide that Friday night is now a boring business as usual moment, even though on the calendar, it doesn't necessarily feel that way. That's a mistake a lot of people make. They treat Saturday afternoon like Saturday afternoon. And that means like they're snacking on shit. They're sitting on the couch a lot. They're cracking open beers. But if you had a really busy Friday night, you got something going on Saturday night, then you have something all day Sunday, and you had a two or three dinners during the week, for work, like maybe you're supposed to treat Saturday afternoon like it's freaking Tuesday morning and just execute, because we need to claw back some of that time, some of the money we've spent. We build equity in my program, by making deposits as often as we can. I won't even say on a daily basis, because some days maybe you don't make a deposit. Other days, maybe you make multiple deposits, but we want to build equity so that we can tap it. We want to tap that equity. Get your mind out of the gutter. Tap the equity when we need it so that we're ultimately not moving backwards too often. I tell clients all the time, neutral is okay. Backwards usually doesn't need to happen. At least not for an extended period of time. Could you technically go backwards after 3 or 4, crazy days back to back? Of course you could. Should you be going backwards on a every 2 weeks basis? Definitely not on a monthly basis. Every 2-3 weeks? Probably not. We should find a way to dig our heels in and stay neutral. Got to stay neutral. So if I were you, and on many levels I am, just like you. If I can do it, so can you. I say that all the time. How would I approach the rest of the summer? I would use the barbell approach. I would identify each week. We ask clients to identify the challenges that are in the way of them having a great week. And that doesn't mean that they have to be perfect during those days. That means we want them thinking ahead about what's important on their schedule from an experiential standpoint, and then starting to plan around it. And if you see that you have 4 or 5 things on your schedule that may take you off track, we got to plan for them. We have to then maybe reset expectations around them or around your results at the end of the week. If you have multiple nights out, multiple nights drinking, 24-hour business trip, something going on the weekends, and you're going to get butthurt because you don't see the scale go down on Monday morning, maybe we need to adjust the expectations. So there's this constant flow, ebb and flow of actions, setting goals, keeping commitments, adjusting expectations, auditing the process. And it's this algorithm that we build inside your own life that I help you monitor, because it sounds a little confusing and maybe even sucking a little bit of the brain power life out of you. But once you get good at it, it's a skill you develop. So if you're looking to enjoy your summer and not feel like on August 30th that you're a total mess and that you've put on 15 pounds and you need a detox, and you're going to go into the same cycle of like September, you're going to get your act together, and then all of a sudden holidays are going to start to pick up in November, and then January you're going to go on another detox, and then by February you're going to forget about that, and then you're going to kind of go into your winter doldrums, and then you're going to get into shape for a couple of weeks heading into the summer because you don't want to look like a walrus, and then the summer is going to take you out. And this is like cycle that people live over and over and over again. And I'm telling you, there's a better way. It may be inside my program. And if it's not, that's cool too. Hopefully you get a lot of value out of this. If you did, could you share it with somebody? Could you review the podcast? Could you rate it on Apple or Spotify? Do something for me. Please do something. I appreciate you guys. If this one hit home, if you took some value out of it, would you let me know? Shoot me an email at brian@thesuccesslift.com or a text message at 917-709-4283. I would love to hear from you. I love when you guys tell me that you've listened to the podcast, you took something away from it, you've been implementing it. It was this, it was that. And listen, oh, by the way, this is a democratic society. If you think it sucks, let me know too, because I would love to improve it. I appreciate you guys. Have a great week. Welcome to July. We are in the back half of 2026. Just like that, we are in the second half. Just like that, I'll be wishing you happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. I'll be making fun of dry January again. This thing is going to go quick, but you got 6 months to do it. We got clients inside of our program who have achieved epic results in the last 2 to 3 months. All right. Jason's down 35 pounds in like 2 months. Zach's down 20 plus pounds and has put on 9 pounds of lean muscle tissue in just 3 months. Sal's down about 15 to 20 pounds. He's as lean as he's ever been. He hasn't been this weight since 1995. We got Brad, who's just crossed into the 270s from 310 pounds for the first time in like over a year. We got Mike down 45 pounds. He's about to be in the 230s for the first time in I don't even know how long. We have people executing, but they're living very normal lives. They're just like you. If they can do it, if I can do it, so can you. Have a great week. We'll see you back here next week.